Jeannie Mai is completely Jeannie Mai. I did every damn thing you've ever seen me do.
At the time when I found out, at the same time as the rest of the world, that my marriage was ending in divorce, I was gutted.
Some stories don't fall apart all at once. Some unravel slowly. Behind smiles, behind matching outfits, behind carefully edited Instagram captions that hide the truth better than any PR team ever could. For years, Jeannie Mai and Jeezy sold the world a picture of healed love, the kind that happens after heartbreak, after long-term wounds, after you swear you'll never trust anyone that deeply again.
You are responsible for keeping your soul clean, and if you have little bits in it...
They looked like the couple who got it right the second time, mature, present, grateful, the exact opposite of the Hollywood chaos we're used to. And then one morning, everything shattered. A divorce filing with no warning, a story with no clear villain, and two people who once whispered about soul connections suddenly speaking in cryptic quotes, icy interviews, and emotional posts that felt like tiny grenades thrown across the internet.
I personally love the engagement ring that Jay designed for me. I couldn't imagine stacking something to that. So I did pinky rings, one for him and one for me.
But this wasn't just a breakup. This was a revelation about timing, image, manipulation, and the quiet secrets both sides were desperate to protect. Today, we're diving into what really happened between Jeannie Mai and Jeezy. Not the picture-perfect version, but the messy, complicated, behind-the-scenes reality that turned a fairy tale into a firestorm. And trust me, the deeper we go, the more the pieces stop fitting the way they once did. On the surface, Jeannie and Jeezy were the blueprint for healed love. They came from long-term relationships, carried emotional scars, and spent years telling their audiences how growth shaped them into better partners. They were soft-spoken, mature, calm, and every public appearance felt like an ad for emotional stability. Their relationship was packaged as the grown version of romance, the one you get after heartbreak teaches you who you are. Jeannie talked openly about therapy, boundaries, and learning to love herself. Jeezy spoke about evolution, responsibility, and leaving the past behind.
Again, God has put me in a different path, and that path is going to entail for me to take care of myself.
Together, they looked like a couple who'd done the work. But here's the thing about polished images. They scrape clean everything that doesn't fit the narrative. Little moments, the quiet tension, the mismatched expectations, the long silences, get buried under curated photos and gentle captions. And the public never notices until it's too late. At the time, nobody suspected a storm was brewing. They didn't look like a couple with problems. They looked aligned, present, intentional. Which is why the world was stunned when the entire foundation collapsed in a single headline, because perfect images are usually the first sign something is quietly going wrong. When the news hit that Jeezy filed for divorce, the internet froze. Not because celebrity divorces are rare, but because this one came with zero warning. There was no public argument, no leaked fight, no messy tabloids warming the audience up for impact, just paperwork, filed quietly, suddenly, decisively. And the most shocking part? Sources close to Jeannie said she had no idea it was coming.
We want to feel trusted, we want to feel loved, we want to feel safe.
She woke up one day celebrating him, promoting him, supporting him. And by that afternoon, her entire life had shifted. Friends described her reaction with one word: shattered. Imagine believing your relationship is stable.
Cannot believe, as every parent will tell you, how much a child changes your life.
Only to discover the exit door had already been unlocked, opened, and walked through before you even realized it existed. The internet instantly took sides. Some said Jeezy was cold. Others said Jeannie must have missed the signs. But nearly everyone agreed on one thing. Something about the timing didn't add up. And that's when the timeline started peeling back the truth. The real shock wasn't the filing, it was what came after. Reports surfaced that the paperwork wasn't new, impulsive, or emotional. It had been notarized months earlier. Months. That meant while Jeannie was flying across the world with him, while she was posting photos saying how proud she was of him, while she was celebrating Father's Day,
married life feels 1000% 1,000% different than when we were dating.
Promoting his projects and building what she believed was a united family, he was quietly finalizing the documents that would end their marriage. Those trips she described as spiritual, those moments she thought were healing, those images of them smiling beside each other in coordinated outfits, they were happening at the same time he was planning his exit. The internet exploded. Fans felt something bordering on betrayal, not because relationships can't end, but because ending one while pretending everything is fine crosses into something darker. One comment summed up the public's frustration. He let her love him loudly, while he planned to leave silently. And that line became the turning point in how the public saw the story. But as people argued about timelines and intentions, another battle was already forming behind the scenes. Once the dust from the filing settled, both sides began shaping their version of the breakup. From Jeannie's side came whispers of emotional blindside, of being convinced to change her beliefs, reshape her boundaries, and rebuild her life for someone who wasn't honest about where his heart was. Insiders said she felt used, discarded, and manipulated into believing the marriage was solid. She didn't go on a rant. She didn't lash out.
Grown. We're in our 40s. And what I think is that God somehow managed our timing so that we spent time after our long-term relationships. We both came from 10-year relationships. And we really worked on ourselves to really understand what healthy love is like.
But she posted quiet messages about betrayal, truth, and rebuilding. And people heard her loud and clear. Then came Jeezy's response. Subtle, vague, calm, but pointed. Cryptic quotes, mysterious captions, phrases like letting go of who's not coming with me. His camp shifted the narrative, dropping hints that Jeannie wasn't the innocent party. They suggested there were emotional boundaries crossed with someone she worked closely with. Nothing explicit, nothing confirmed, but enough ambiguity to spark an online war. Suddenly, this wasn't a divorce. It was a tug-of-war for public sympathy. Fan bases split right down the middle, one side calling Jeezy calculated, the other accusing Jeannie of hypocrisy. And through all of it, neither of them directly said anything concrete. But the public didn't need clear answers. They started digging through the past on their own. The internet has a long memory, and when people want answers, they start pulling archives. Clips resurfaced from Jeannie's early career, jokes, comments, sound bites that hadn't aged well. Suddenly, statements she'd made years before were repurposed as evidence of who she really was. Her preferences, her humor, her old interviews. Everything was analyzed under a microscope. Her fans defended her evolution. Her critics insisted the clips revealed her true character.
That's the symbolism to quarantine, I think, for all of us, and especially for our marriage, but just for everybody, is that nothing should stop you living your life.
Meanwhile, Jeezy was painted as the calm sage, a reformed man speaking in philosophical captions while the chaos exploded around him. But even that image felt curated, too calm, too rehearsed, too conveniently timed. Every quote he posted seemed designed to position him as the wise, self-controlled party above the drama. Except the timing betrayed him, because wisdom and secrecy rarely coexist peacefully. Slowly, the audience realized both sides were performing, just in different ways. And then the interviews began, and everything changed. Jeezy was the first to break the silence on camera. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't point fingers. He framed the divorce as a necessary evolution, something about changing without losing yourself, something about recognizing when something is no longer working.
I think love is two people healing together and giving each other the space to do so.
To some people, he sounded mature. To others, he sounded detached, almost chillingly so. The clip went viral, not because of what he said, but because of what he didn't say. Where was the acknowledgement of blindsiding her? Where was the explanation for the months-old documents? Where was the honesty about planning an exit long before she knew anything? Viewers accused him of emotional spin, painting himself thoughtful while dodging accountability. Then Jeannie spoke, not in a flashy studio, not with a glam squad, just her and a microphone. She talked about respect, about building a home with someone who saw her as temporary, about learning that love without boundaries isn't love at all. She didn't name him. She didn't have to. Her voice trembled, but her message landed like lightning.
Things go off your chest is really important. Going there and digging up some things that are really deep.
The clip exploded across social media. People stitched it with their own stories. Women wrote paragraphs beneath it saying they felt every word. Suddenly, the sympathy shifted, the narrative shifted, and the story stopped being about timelines or rumors. It became emotional, and that meant the internet was only getting started. Because nothing fuels online chaos like whispers of infidelity. The moment Jeezy's team hinted that Jeannie had gotten too close to someone she worked with, the internet went into investigator mode. Clips of her laughing with her co-hosts spread like wildfire. A friendly smile became evidence. A joke became suspicious. A moment of chemistry became a headline. No accusation was confirmed, but Jeezy didn't deny anything. And silence, especially strategic silence.
How's she doing? How's everything?
Amazing.
How's
The family's great. Baby's big. She's walking all over the house.
Speaks louder than any statement. Jeannie fired back in her own way. A post about seeing people's true intentions. A message about manipulation. A warning, tell it all. Those 3 words lit the internet on fire. Fans started rewriting the story from scratch. Some said she was the victim. Others believed he was. Most agreed that at least one side wasn't telling the full truth.
Even though this year I met the most broken version of me, I also met the strongest version of me.
Reputation became the battlefield. Quotes became ammunition. Old clips became weapons, and both of them were losing pieces of themselves to the narrative. Because when silence grows louder than words, the fallout becomes impossible to ignore. After weeks of subtle shots and viral clips, the energy changed. Jeannie began quietly scrubbing traces of the marriage. The ring vanished. Old photos disappeared. Her captions grew sharper, clearer, stronger. She looked calm in public, but not the same kind of calm she once shared with him. This was a different calm. A rebuild your life calm. A you won't break me calm. Meanwhile, Jeezy leaned deeper into his brand of stoic self-growth. Public appearances, thoughtful interviews, black and white studio photos that seemed perfectly crafted to maintain his narrative.
She sat me down. She said, listen, it was something that I said, and it might have got taken out of context, and I want you to listen to it in its entirety. And I did.
But the audience wasn't buying it the same way anymore, because no matter how polished he looked, people remembered the sequence. He filed first. He planned quietly. He let her celebrate him while he was setting her free, and he never clearly explained the timing. The sympathy he once held started to fracture. Jeannie, on the other hand, began to glow in a way that felt real, not performative, not polished, just honest. She posted a video of her and her daughter, paired with a message that hit deeper than anything said in interviews. You don't lose yourself when someone leaves you. You lose yourself when you forget you deserve better. That line became the emotional climax of the entire saga.
It's about discovering me and being a mom to the best blessing in my life, my little girl.
Women across the internet reposted it, stitched it, turned it into affirmations. It felt like closure, not just for her, but for anyone who had ever been blindsided by someone who claimed to love them. And Jeezy, he stepped out looking unfazed, but the comments under his posts told another story. Fans weren't moved by polished photos anymore. They wanted answers, and answers never came. In the end, both of them lost something, but Jeannie gained something too, a version of herself that didn't shrink to fit someone else's vision of healing. And that's where the truth finally settles. This divorce wasn't about paperwork. It wasn't about rumors. It wasn't even about who left whom. It was about image versus reality, about love that looks perfect until the fine print starts showing, about two people trying to protect their reputations while their emotions fell apart in real time, about boundaries bent too far, expectations too heavy, and truths too delayed to save anything. Jeannie and Jeezy taught the internet one final lesson. He taught her how to open her heart again. She taught him what respect actually costs. And maybe that's the part everyone relates to, because almost everyone has loved someone who looked healed on the outside, but was still breaking things behind the scenes. Sometimes the prettiest couples hide the darkest endings. Sometimes the quietest breakups echo the loudest. And sometimes the person you trust to heal you ends up being the one you need to heal from. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.